And we're recording. Yeah, we do. Yeah. So vodka, yeah. Ethanol is a fuel and a medicine and an intoxicant, which no other thing that's any one of those things includes the other two, as far as I know. You can have a medicine, but I don't know other medicines that are fuels. As a antiseptic.
Right, I was going to ask.
Oh,
You
yeah.
think of cowboy movies,
Well,
of course.
in the past month, if you've tried to buy Everclear in a liquor store, you can't.
Oh, really? I was
Yeah.
wondering about that.
You put Everclear in some gel and shake it up and
Right, yeah. I was thinking
hand sanitizer.
I could get around, oh, well, there's a shortage. And I was like, I'm just going to go to the liquor store. No one will have thought of that.
I went to the one in Eatonville, asked for Everclear and couldn't find it.
Would whiskey not do it?
It would do it.
Yeah.
You have to add a bit more, presumably, and it'll smell worse and have more.
Oh, but it could do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's
So,
whiskey. Yeah,
easy.
You could clean a wound with whiskey far better than water.
Right.
No, it'd be even better than the water. Yeah, horrible stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Oh, it's awful. I mean, here he's
just light it on fire right now.
You could. That's what I was also using it for. I was doing my spring burning, illegal spring burning in the back on a cloudy day. Started it up with all the headshots. So 4 shots. Yeah. So, still burning?
Yeah. Just very small sips.
Yeah, it'll hurt your stomach. It does mine.
It's not quite moonshine.
No, it ain't.
Moonshine is to not moonshine as that is to moonshine.
Yeah. But it never goes bad. The last one, I got a few significant details on the early life of Pompey the Great wrong. As the Roman Republic killed itself. So sue me, folks. It was so complicated and chaotic. Most Romans probably couldn't keep track of what the hell was going on. So, go fuck yourselves.
I can relate.
It was, but the overall picture that I was trying to paint using the vignette of one very powerful politician's life was accurate in flavor, if not in a few details.
Yeah, the details aren't important.
Yeah.
The shape is important.
The shape was important. The details are difficult to keep track of as a republic killed itself. But basically, the Roman economy, which was based on agriculture, destroyed itself. And instead of turning inward and having land reform like the Gracchi brothers tried to do, they turned outward and devoured the Mediterranean.
Right. Eat up more stuff.
Yeah, send your poor people overseas to go fight and plunder rather than maybe put them on the land and become the stout yeoman, virtuous farmer of the class of when the Republic was running well, at least in our mythology. Unite the Mediterranean and then have to take the responsibility for it. So the height of the Roman Empire and the Roman peace was kind of Rome no longer plundering the littoral Mediterranean shore, everything around Italy. It was them having to govern it, take responsibility for it, build infrastructure and institutions. And it's fair to say that the height of the Roman Empire, even though it was technically, it was technically still a republic, just that it was a one-man republic. But even if it was fundamentally a military dictatorship, as far as ancient governments go, a fairly just, well-run, very well-organized system, because they had to take responsibility for it. And then it fell apart again.
It's an interesting phrase, taking responsibility. Like I know I think it might be something I repeat all the time, but what does that look like? What in the is there a good modern analogy for either not taking responsibility or an imagined current nation state taking responsibility?
Well, I mean, dysfunction. The immediate results of government mismanagement and dysfunction are usually fairly obvious. Like we even have terms called banana republic. Well, why is that? I mean, there's the immediate history of why that's the case, of a big country turning a small Central American country into basically a plantation for a fruit company. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to delve this quickly into it, but let's just say overall that human nature is good, and we understand what government tyranny and corruption is like immediately. It's almost a visceral response. You can hide it for a while behind rhetorical devices, but people know when their tax dollars are being misspent, and people know when the wealth of a country is being hoarded by a micro elite, a tiny elite. That we know that dictatorships suck because now all of a sudden somebody's son or nephew is in charge of the health system or whatever, because I don't want it to turn it immediately into a United States versus China episode. We'll get there.
Okay.
So with Rome, what happened was when the Republic, this is the Republic, was ripping itself apart in Italy, it was also simultaneously doing these predatory attacks in every direction. This is post-Hannibal, before the final civil wars of Julius Caesar and Octavian. But while there were these immense political struggles within the Republic, Sulla versus Marius, the first triumvirate, really obvious examples. They were also sending armies to Anatolia or Greece or Carthage or Spain and attacking these people who were not in any way an immediate threat to Italy. Far from it, anything but they were attacking, plundering, tax farming. So it was irresponsible. Instead of taking care of the local people and saying, oh, well, if you are a part of Rome, let's help you develop economically so that we can tax you responsibly, and let's build aqueducts and bridges and roads. It was armies marching around and coming back with plunder.
You're telling me that didn't work out.
It didn't, until almost what happened was the natural human nature being good passively forced, like water filling a vessel. You can either keep plundering a province until there's essentially literally nothing left to steal, or you can develop it economically and build wealth. Not both. So, did the Romans simply run out of things to steal from the rest of the Mediterranean shore? Is it a moot point? I don't know. But after a while, even the Hellenistic kingdom of Pergamum, under the Attalid dynasty, a Macedonian Greek dynasty left over from Alexander's conquest. This is in western Turkey today. The last king of that dynasty personally willed the kingdom to the Republic of Rome because he saw kind of the writing on the wall. This is not the empire, the Republic. He saw the writing on the wall and was like, Rome's going to take over anyway. I could leave the kingdom to my son and make him try to defend it, or I could.
Right.
He willed
set
it
him up to be annexed later or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen anyway, so let's do it peacefully.
Wow.
I could let my son inherit the kingdom, and a lot of Greeks are going to have to die in kind of a meaningless war, or legally do it as personal property to the Republic. And that act, believe it or not, that ties into the Gracchi brothers, which we brought up, because it was that moment was seized upon by Tiberius Gracchus, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's Tiberius. He said, "Oh, this is now going to be public land.
Oh, wow.
Agera publica, whatever it is. Ager publica. This is the land I'm going to distribute to these poor Roman families who are dispossessed by the big slave plantations."
Wow.
And it was, again, it was screwed up. The Senate,
Nice idea, though.
good idea, except for the Pergamese people living there. But that's a good, the Pergamon example is a good example of even other Mediterranean peoples were like, let's join Rome. Clearly the gods are on their side because they win every battle.
Right. Mandate of heaven, etc.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of those tautologies, you know, if they didn't have the mandate, they wouldn't be winning every battle.
I mean, if we say the will of the gods, that's not an anachronism. It's us making fun of the ancients. You know, like, I saw 12 eagles fly by the other day. One of them had a snake in his talons. Clearly this means I should marry my second cousin on Thursday. Okay, it's the will of the gods. Look at them, blah, blah, blah. But how many American presidents have said in public speeches, "God bless America"? So who's
probably at least 40 of them?
Every single one. Every single one. They have to end their speeches with "God bless America." It's a fucking joke. We live in a scientific era, so who's more funny? Who's more worthy of derision? And a lot of these presidents clearly don't believe in God, but they have to say it anyway. So don't tell me the ancients were stupid because they said this is God's will. If they keep winning battles and annexing territory, and history seems to be on their side, and the gods probably exist, you don't understand the universe scientifically, it probably is the will of the gods. So join Rome peacefully, you know. That's how Rome was kind of forced by forces of history to, like, even if you're a legionnaire after a while, it's like, I don't want to fight anymore. I want to raise a family. I'm happy to farm and have
my
land.
Roman dream is to serve my country and then settle down.
Yeah.
With my plow, or what? They have plows?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. So they had a few psychopaths, I'm sure, who loved war. Most of them,
right? There had to be some folks that, like, really,
and
that they were in their element.
Yeah,
you know.
But for the vast majority, the average legionnaire, it was a shitty life, even though it was even better than being poor and landless. So you have to kind of keep this in mind. Like, it's really nice to be very rich. What a surprise. Life in the army and the barracks might be better than being landless and poor, but it's really nice to be free and okay.
Right.
Nobody's whipping you for insubordination.
I don't have to stab anybody or risk getting stabbed either.
Yeah, or stepping on a nail and dying from tetanus.
Yeah.
So even a legionnaire is probably like, can't we get along? We won. We won.
What are we still doing here?
Yeah, we won the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is full of oracles all over the place. It's not just Greek and Roman civilized. You know, Celts had oracles too. Sacred sites, sacred springs, mountains. Delphi is the big one, but even Greece had like 4 I can think on the top of my head. Italy was dotted full of oracle sites that are kind of forgotten now. Now one government is in control of all of them, and most of those oracles are saying things in favor of Rome. So clearly the gods are on your side. Maybe this is pretty cool. And
our best access to the divine is through these oracles, and most of them agree.
And
4 out of 5 oracles say.
yes, yes. The Delphi, it kind of switched. You know, as soon as Rome, it was obvious Rome was going to win. It became very pro-Roman. The average person in the ancient era wanted peace as well. They were just like you or I, having to worry about getting raided by your neighbors fucking sucks. Why not live under a Roman peace? I'd rather have legionnaires on the Danube and Rhine, and I don't have to worry about any raiding or fighting within hundreds of miles of me. Hell of a lot better than what it was before the Romans came along. The Pax Romana, the Roman peace.
Right.
So that was the legitimacy that they had to hold on to. They had to keep the peace to legitimize their supremacy. It's a trade-off, and that was kind of taking the responsibility for it. In the Republic, the Romans are not bringing peace at all, are they? They're just tromping all over especially the Eastern Mediterranean. Julius Caesar brought anything but peace to Gaul, but once it was over,
right. Not to mention that this Roman I've heard of, and this Roman I've heard of are fighting each other.
Yes, it's the civil wars.
Right.
Quote, ripped it apart, but then it immediately stitched back together. It ripped it apart so badly that the constituent kingdoms of the Pergamese and the Numidia and all these other things couldn't. There was no effort, as far as I know, there was no effort of local leaders in Pergamon or Macedonia or Numidia to say, oh, wait. Cato the Younger is fighting Caesar in North Africa. Let's take this opportunity to reassert Numidian freedom and autonomy. They didn't even try. They were like, fuck, it's over. They had to side with either Cato or Caesar. They had to decide which side of a Roman civil war they were fighting on. It was never even thought like, well, what if we just kick all the Romans out and bring back old Numidia? It didn't happen. They didn't even try. They knew they were stuck with a Roman Mediterranean world. Yeah.
Well, what do you got over there?
Oh, not yet. So, after we talked about, what would have, it was kind of also the element of, though, it was maybe a poisoned chalice that Rome drank, because if they hadn't expanded beyond Italia, just the Italian peninsula, there might be Romans today, literal Romans, speaking Latin, worshiping Jupiter and Mars. Right.
Juno.
Yeah. God of the hearth, goddess of the hearth, I think was Juno. I think. I'm not sure, because she became Hera something. I don't know. Gotta be careful. But instead, they chose to look outward. It ended the Republic, brought in a Mediterranean-wide empire, but that empire was arguably, you could do alternative histories all you want, arguably that Republic was more vulnerable to northern invasions than an only Italian Republic would have been to German invasions, if they had kept buffer states around them, And so we were saying, I just listened to it, like a glass marble might just be one object among many, but if you take the same volume of glass and inflate it into this glorious sphere, it might be hollow on the inside and vulnerable to breaking. Well, okay, so then I read the Tao Te Ching.
Oh, I thought you were going great learning. Or
no, well, Okay, so when the Tao ruled the world, the horses were sent to till the fields. When the Tao no longer rules, war horses are bred on the frontier. Are you fucking kidding me? So they've got it.
Yeah.
Maybe if Caesar and Sulla and others had been reading the Tao Te Ching, We might still have Romans because they might have read that sentence and gone, huh. Well, we could solve our internal Italian problems with land reform. You know, remember that Gracchi guy who got assassinated 60 years ago? Maybe we should have listened to him, and maybe we should, instead of turning these landless poor into legionnaires and sending them to Asia Minor to loot, maybe we should give them land in Italia. Maybe, that's his grandpa's old farm that's crumbling down because he died invading Spain or Gaul. Let's give him his grandpa's land back. Let's dispossess the rich guy who bought it, or the son of the rich guy who bought it.
That's right.
Give him back his 10 acres, the poor guy the 10 acres, dispossess the rich guy. Let's build let's build the Roman Republic back up instead of externalizing all our problems.
Ooh,
Let's stop solving our problems overseas. Because I got this crazy book from this land far to the east. And I read this sentence it's called the Way or the Tao. It means like the way of nature, how things are. When the Way ruled the world, the horses were sent to till the fields. If it doesn't rule, war horses are bred in the frontier. What are we doing? Why are we fighting overseas in places that are no threat to us domestically?
Here's your alternative history.
There it is, folks.
But what if the Tao made it to...
You have to wonder.
I actually can't remember when the
Lao Tzu, Master
yeah
Lao.
old teacher.
Yeah.
Old master.
Yeah. One has to wonder though. There's one thing that has to be said about, and it's really important because of how the current Western world misunderstands Rome and really misunderstands China. So there is no Bronze Age Rome. The city itself does not exist in the year 1000 BC. Okay? It's not there.
What are these? This pre-Etruscans or?
Yeah. Rome is basically an Etruscan city at the beginning.
Okay.
It's just one Etruscan city among many, and because of evolutionary forces, it becomes distinct, but if it's the year 600 BC, Rome exists, it's ruled by Etruscan kings, it's an Etruscan city. We make a terrible mistake to say, it was ruled by Etruscans. It's just one Etruscan city among many. But they don't. Do they speak Etruscan? They speak Latin. Etruscan language is not Latin. So maybe they're ruled by... So it's like a peripheral zone. North of them, it's all Etruscans mostly. I have a series I'm listening to called The Mysterious Etruscans. Yeah. The whole point of that whole series, every goddamn paragraph is basically like, and therefore the Romans are just essentially Etruscan in nature.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
I know nothing of the Etruscans except that they were the immediate predecessors of what we call Rome, right? The Etruscan kings.
Right. They were a northern Italian peoples who were distinct, but very influenced by Greek and other cultures. They had their own variations. They were fairly sophisticated.
Back to the Bronze Age.
Mm-hmm. In China. There is no Bronze Age Rome. Okay, this is post-Bronze Age collapse. The Latin peoples migrated down from the north, as has happened before in the Mediterranean and will happen again, after the Bronze Age collapse around 1000 BC, a little bit before.
Thank you for that. I was going to ask.
1000 BC. This is distinctly different from China. There is, very much so, a Bronze Age China. You have the Zhou, before them the Shang. But
we're getting pretty tenuous as far as history goes, right?
Yes and no. It used to be tenuous. It's a lot less tenuous than it used to be. The Zhou is getting more understood, like the oracle bones.
Oracle bones, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, there's continuity. It's not.
But pre-Joe, it's like almost mythological, right?
Right, but even the Zhou used to be mythological.
I see.
That's
we've
what's happening.
actually
Yeah,
expanded our.
yeah. It seems that there was a wave of migration out of the Eurasian steppe. It spilled out both west, east, and south. These are the light chariot migrations. They went all the way to conquer the northern half of Egypt. These are the Hyksos in Egypt. These are the Vedic. This is the Vedic invasion of northern India around 1200, 1000 BC.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And the Shang might have been a part of that migration because it seems that archaeologically before the Shang, there are not chariots and horses in China. It seems to be a watershed event. The Shang
the light
definitely,
chariot.
yeah, the Shang definitely had the light chariot and horses. And if I'm wrong about that, I'll blow my brains out. But I'm pretty positive about it.
Can we go back to the oracle bones?
Right. What
Just for me to orient as far as, pardon the pun, writing systems go.
Right. The oracle bones are around this time.
It's like proto.
It's proto-written
Chinese.
Chinese. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were a divination system.
Right.
Right.
You apply a hot poker to a tortoise shell or something.
A tortoise shell
yeah.
or an ox shoulder blade.
With some idioms written around and
Yeah.
see which way the cracks go.
Yeah. And they would do it. Apparently, it was almost probabilistic. You would ask the same question many times and take a kind of composite answer.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which when I hear that, I'm like, oh well, of course that bleeds all the way forward into the Tao and other. This is change over time. It's not about dichotomies. It's not yes or no.
You don't do it once. You do it.
Yeah.
Get a feeling for it after
Yeah.
doing it 5 or 6 or 8 would be a more auspicious number, but
Sure. Not 3 or 4, which is
yeah,
the sign.
it's 4.
4. Yeah. So.
4 or in
Death.
Japanese, yeah. She.
Go ahead.
There's probably no written Chinese. There's no written Chinese yet.
Correct.
We've got some symbols that we use for divination.
Yeah.
And where does this stack up against the other earliest writing systems we know about?
It's younger. It's significantly younger.
Younger than cuneiform.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's younger. It
Right.
is, and like that's another one. It's Chinese civilization has an unbroken continuity, but it does start a little bit later than Sumerian. It is.
Interesting.
I don't. There's no debate about that.
Right. It's probably, common knowledge for anyone who knows anything, but I need reminding of
3000 BC. There's a fully formed writing system in.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's way.
And we're talking like 12,000 BC oracle bones.
1200.
Sorry.
1200.
Yeah, 1200.
Yeah,
Oof.
1500, 1200. So it's younger. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Um.
And it will take a while for the whatever we're scratching on oracle bones to become written Chinese.
I haven't fully followed up on the oracle bones. My dates could be a bit off, but it's roughly that. It's mid Bronze Age across Eurasia or like the height of the Bronze Age for Mesopotamia and stuff is when the oracle bones are the Chinese language is getting going. Because their bronze casting and stuff had Chinese characters on it. Like they have a writing system by the time they're casting bronze.
Making bells and
cauldrons.
Yeah.
Amazing
Well, a
stuff.
cauldron is a bell. Come on.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So, but what's important to a real distinction between China and Rome is Rome, with extreme swiftness, conquered the entire Mediterranean that had never been unified before, whereas Chinese civilization had a substrate much more closely, much more similar to Mesopotamia or the Indus River or the Nile River in the Yellow River Valley. That was significantly older than Rome. So yes, in the year 100 AD, on either end of Eurasia, you have old, huge, sophisticated civilizations. You have Han dynasty and Roman dynasties. Okay. But in the Yellow River Valley, the history and institutions and social development go all the way back to like 3000, 4000 BC. Whereas Rome is not even founded as a tiny city-state until 700s BC, right? So it's much older. China is actually much older. So the Zhou dynasty is bebopping around 1000 BC.
Now, when we're comparing them,
And go ahead.
and we're thinking about the Italian peninsula,
Right.
were there folks there?
Oh God, yeah, Jesus,
Right.
of course.
It's
We're
it's not like uninhabited and then
Oh, no.
Rome happens.
It
It's
is
just,
not wilderness.
It's just that the Roman civilization, as we can understand it, doesn't.
It's not there. There are no Italian or Latin speaking peoples in the Italian peninsula before 1000 BC. They're not even there. They are
Who's there?
Who's they? Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
And what are they doing?
The Italian
While the Joe are being Joe.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Italian peoples, the people who are going to become the Latin speakers, are tribes somewhere up in the Balkans, maybe? Nobody knows. In the geographic location of that peninsula, you have, there's Mycenaean Greek, which is Bronze Age Greek pottery finds in southern Italy, So there's people living along the shore, maybe Greek settlements, Mycenaean Greek settlements.
Pretty nice place to be, really, on the Mediterranean.
It is. It's very pleasant.
Yeah.
Beautiful sunsets, nice weather.
Yeah.
And people had been growing wheat, barley, raising sheep, cattle. You can watch, I can see the map in my mind of like the arrival of wheat, barley stuff out of, Southeast Asia, southern Turkey today. Right? Fertile Crescent. This is like 4,000, 5,000 BC. It's arriving. It just moves across.
I need to.
Yeah. So
I need to look at that.
Yeah. You do.
Barley's not here, and then it's here.
Yeah,
Or wheat's not here, and then it's here.
Yes, and it's brought there by people.
Right.
It is not blowing on the wind. Cows are not blowing. They're coming in boats. And it doesn't seem to come over land. It doesn't go through the Balkans and then down into Italy. It's coming on boats. The findings seem to be
dang.
through the south.
I can't even.
You can cross.
If I were an archaeologist or an anthropologist, I could try and picture what that boat looked like, but I can't even picture what that boat looked like.
It's a real shitty boat.
Does it have sails? Does it have oars? Does it have both?
Have oars. Or maybe paddles. Not the same.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no. You wouldn't think about your own life. Do you try to make your life more technologically sophisticated? Do you try to make your car better, faster, stronger, more fuel efficient? Do you try to make your clothes better clothes?
Most of it's maintenance if I do anything.
Right. Yeah. I'm a slob.
Yeah. I might try and sew a hole or keep my car from blowing up, but
right.
I'm not souping it up on a regular basis.
Yeah. So we sit there and go, why didn't they build a better boat? And it's like, well, because they were doing fine. He had a wife, he had kids, he had a farm. And
this boat works,
and he had to pay for it with 5 cows. So why would he try something that he doesn't know if it works or not?
So wheat and cattle are coming I mean, this
wheat,
is
cattle,
I'm
sheep.
sorry, I've gotten us distracted.
No,
but
well,
now-
because
now
okay,
we're,
who's
you know.
in Italy before the Italian peoples arrived, before the Bronze Age collapsed?
Yes.
What do they call it? The something Urnfeld culture, corded Urnfeld something. You know, we judge them by their burials and whatnot. They're not even Etruscans. They might be proto-Etruscan.
What kind of? Give me an idea about like their technology.
It's
What kind of knots do they
okay.
have?
So
What kind of? Yeah.
bronze and iron are watershed events. I mean, you don't have anybody accidentally using iron 10,000 years ago. But you do have people using sophisticated stone tools all over the place 10,000 years ago. So before about 1000 BC, iron is not utilized. It's all meteoric at best.
Okay, right.
And you know what? I just drew a blank because I don't know if we know of a place of an origin point for iron smelting. It might have been bronze was all over the place. So maybe if you have bronze working, you have people who are metallurgists, and so in multiple places iron starts getting used. I'm not sure.
But before
That's a good
iron,
point.
we're in the Bronze Age,
Yeah. So
and so it's soft and dumb compared to iron.
relatively, yeah.
But we're making. Am I harvesting wheat with bronze
Sickle.
sickle? Am I? I'm
Probably not.
stabbing people with bronze swords if we're
Yeah.
fighting.
There's bronze sword, but it's only rich people who can afford much bronze. So you're probably using like stone chipped. Even though it's the Bronze Age, you're probably using a stone chipped wooden handled sickle.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So
There's
what
not
are we
many.
making bronze out? What are we making bronze into in the Bronze Age?
Well, since it's really only
A plow?
No.
Ugh.
No. You have an ard. It's a piece. It's a stick. it's a piece of hard wood. It's kind of pathetic. To the best of my knowledge, you know.
My arrowheads are stone.
Yeah.
If I'm
Yeah.
shooting arrows.
Yeah. Chert.
Have I seen?
Flint.
Okay, you were saying it's sort of maybe
You know,
classist. If I'm not wealthy enough to afford bronze, have I seen bronze?
You might have seen the king wearing it.
Do I have a neighbor who has bronze tools? Probably not.
Probably not. No. Otzi the Iceman, you know, that famous guy. He had a copper axe. That was kind of his prized possession in a way. He had a lot of. It's sophisticated. These are fully modern people. This is a guy you could train to. You could be like, this is a YouTube video. He is fully modern. He is in every way. He's making fart jokes with his friend.
Okay.
They know how to brew beer. You
And
know?
when did he live?
Otzi the Iceman is like, oh, Christ, 5,000 BC? I mean, you know,
Fart jokes
again,
are
yeah, don't quote me on
timeless.
that.
Yeah.
There's Babylonian cuneiform fart jokes on clay tablets. So, you know, that's the real mark of modernity. But it's quite sophisticated. There have been modern efforts to recreate, not efforts, they've done it. They've recreated Otzi's kit, you know, his clothes, his shoes and all that. And they're like, this is nice.
This is pretty cool.
Pretty nice stuff. But he had a copper axe. Well, if you want to chop down a tree, a copper axe fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But it probably meant he was fairly well off.
Was it an axe for killing folks, or was it an axe for chopping trees?
I don't know. I mean, he certainly wasn't a soldier. There's no such thing as that. It's interesting to think about, isn't it? There's no cities. There's no cities at this time. There's villages.
Is Otzi like a hunter-gatherer or pastoral, or
He probably 95% of the meat he eats is wild, hunted. But
does he shoot a bow?
Oh yeah, he had a bow. Yeah, he had a bow. He was killed by an arrow.
Right. Yeah. Did he
but-
have tattoos?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People make them.
Yeah.
He's eating. He's also eating wild mushrooms. But bread, beer. This is all there.
Bread.
So they're
Holy
farming.
crap.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not a hunter gatherer.
Gotcha.
They have farming stuff, but it's so. How the fuck do you plow a field with a wooden stick in Italy, you know? So it's probably like, you know, we have these fields, but it's so much work. The yield is probably so low. So the forests are probably regrowing faster than you could. There's no cities to the very best of my knowledge. Hey, archaeologists, prove us wrong.
We have agriculture, but not cities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which was...
I don't imagine that. I haven't spent very much time imagining that.
You think that's hard to imagine? Here you go. For the same period of time as all of recorded history in the Middle East, there was agriculture, no cities, no writing.
Right.
We have 5,000 years of recorded history. 3,000 BC to today. That's 5K. Five clicks.
Right. From Sumerian or...
From Uruk.
Yeah.
Uruk to Seattle. That's 5,000 years. That's
Okay.
it. That is all of recorded history. We have a same amount of time of villages and agriculture. Cattle, roughly. Pigs, sheep, goats. Barley, wheat, peas, lentils, chickpeas.
And a lot of these things...
No cities, no writing.
Moved around.
Of course they did.
Like...
They were...
Barley in places barley didn't grow
Yeah.
that humans had to bring barley to.
Yeah, they were moving out. Probably what it was maybe... I mean, people know how to ferment things, even with wild fruits. You know what I mean? But let's say you were a non-agricultural people, a budding... So, you know, like you have two buffer states in between. Some guy is going to come with this magical brew that's pretty damn tasty. You just tried it. It's called beer. It's made from barley. You're going to use it in a ceremony and have an orgy afterwards or something because you're going to combine it with the hallucinogenic whatever. And you go, you know what? I want to... Can we grow some of that ourselves?
We got to figure that out.
We got to figure that out. And you say, hey, bring us some of your barley. And they say... Why would we give you our magical grain? Here, something really cool. Barley made it all the way up to the steppe, up to like Kazakhstan and stuff, to the Altai Mountains. And there it was burned as a sacrificial thing because it was this magical plant that nobody had ever seen.
Whoa.
Because it came on the back of a donkey. Because you've heard of this magical place.
With like... driven by a person who looks nothing like anyone you've ever seen, maybe.
Yeah, speaking a language you've never heard.
Right.
But you might be the people who domesticated horses. And your ancestors are going to conquer... I mean, your descendants are going to conquer his descendants in 3,000 years. They would find it. Like, sheep and goats, when they first arrived up on the steppes, were ceremonial animals.
They weren't cattle. They were...
Yeah, cattle, Jesus Christ, they're not even an idea yet, you know. But
we're not milking them, or
you're sacrificing them.
Right.
You're not eating them. Crazy, huh?
And where did they come from?
The Middle East. 2,000 miles away. It's crazy.
It's a long walk.
Well, you know, it seems so hypothetical because you're like, oh, look, a goat.
Yeah.
But if you've never seen one, it's like, what the fuck is this? And it's like, they have herds of tens of thousands of these, and there's this incredible thing called a city down there. And they have piled up the stones 70 feet tall and 30 feet thick. And it encircles this enormous area.
Or even 12 feet tall. I mean,
yeah.
That would still be what do we call them? Fish stories or whatever.
Yeah, tall tales.
Yeah. If you hadn't seen...
Yeah.
Stone piled up higher than 3 feet, 12 feet would be...
The Epic of Gilgamesh, the first few paragraphs are all about the walls of Uruk. Like, have you seen them? Have you seen the walls? It's a good listen. It's only like 40 minutes long. I
nice.
recommend it. So, Rome and China.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's good. No, it's good because you have to realize that had all of that social development had taken place elsewhere in the Mediterranean world than the peninsula of Italy. And then these upstarts conquered...
These Etruscans.
Yeah. These people who kicked out the Etruscans and then developed these kind of weird institutions and conquered their neighbors. And in like the span of like 5 generations, goes from being a local Italian power to the entire Mediterranean. Whereas in the Yellow River Valley, all that crap we just talked about wheat, barley, sheep, goat, pigs, cattle eventually, was there in situ. It was in
They'd
place.
Been sitting on it for
a long time. And so it's superficially, horizontally, it looks the same. Vertically, it's not. It's a different structure. And there's this fabulous paper I've read about differences in the tax structure of Rome under the empire versus Han China. Because when the Chinese were unifying under the Warring States period and the Qin, who gave the name to China, and then the Han, who replaced the Qin very quickly, they were conquering kingdoms and areas that had been independent kingdoms and socially developing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and then politically unifying a whole that had been culturally a whole for an extremely long time.
right.
In a way that in the same...
Like
in
their neighbors that they conquered.
Yeah. They're conquering Chu and Yu and Yue, and it's like, we're a 700-year-old kingdom. Who the fuck are you? Whereas Rome happened like lightning. Just like, boom. Like 200 BC... let's just go 300 BC. The only game in town is Alexander's empire and the Greeks off to the east, you know. By 200 years later, it's Rome over the entire Mediterranean. People who had never met each other. And so it was shallower. It was a shallower structure.
Right. Quicker, more superficial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I misremembering. I can't remember. Does the Han go from like 200 to 200?
Yeah.
Straddle 0?
Yeah, it straddles
Yeah,
0.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Warring States is
Before them, yeah.
gotcha.
It's Zhou, Spring and Autumn, Warring States, Qin. Yeah.
Han.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And to say Qin was one of the Warring States, it happened to win.
Right.
There might be a different name for China now, if it had been a different one.
But it was the Emperor of Qin that won out in the Warring States period.
Yes, Qin Shi Huangdi.
Yes. Yeah, you love that guy.
He's not a nice man, but
You know, Rivers of Mercury is pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah.
The terracotta soldiers, that's Qin, right?
Yeah, that's Qin. Yeah, that's him.
We all love that, you know.
Yeah.
They you know, with their soft power, they export that. Everyone loves the terracotta warriors.
Yeah. Damn, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to say soft power.
I mean, from what we just listened to in the Tao Te Ching about horses and borders, maybe soft power is the only real power. Damn.
Well, and then we'd have to accidentally talk about North America. I don't want to, but
right. Well, I mean, you said hyperinflation, but we could get right into it.
Yeah. If you wanted, yeah.
Should we get there? Okay.
What are we looking at here?
We're at 48 minutes. We could go at an hour 20. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, the worst biological weapon ever used is the coronavirus. It has a death rate of like 1% or less. And people are going, well, what's going on?
We're doing this.
We're doing it. You said hyperinflation.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple days ago.
We've mentioned it before. So, we'll never know what the actual decision was that was made, or what is actually going on, or whether they're responding to events to the best that they can. But a Russian blogger I read made the point that it's the worst biological weapon ever because it isn't. You know, it's there's no evidence that it's engineered, and if it was, it's certainly not engineered to be one. But the current government of China saw what was happening, and they put it in context. One of the contexts is that in 2008, one of the contexts is that in 2001, the United States decided to engage in a global war without raising taxes on its people. This puts stresses on the financial system of the Western world because those wars are profoundly expensive, especially the invasion of Iraq. It cost about, they say, Joseph Stiegel, or however you pronounce his name, said, oh, this is the $3 trillion war. He wrote a book titled that. In 2005, Saudi Arabia doubled the number of oil rigs it had in its kingdom in order to try to increase oil production. Doubled it. That's expensive.
Yeah, powers of two are not small things.
No, but it only increased production in Saudi Arabia by something like 18%. Don't quote me on that, but it's a small amount. It's much less than 100%, which is what you would hope. If you're going to double the rig count you have on the ground, every one of those rigs needs to be assembled and has, operating costs. Light sweet crude, which is what we know as oil, peaked in 2005. And because of that, the natural decline rate has been about 6% for light sweet crude.
When you say peaked, what do you mean? Production or
production?
Price per barrel?
No, not price. Not price. Production.
So 2005.
That is a geologic term. Production of the liquids coming out of the ground. Price has nothing to do with it. It's a physical process.
We've never got more light sweet crude out of the ground.
That's correct.
Than in 2005.
That's correct. Yes.
Does it have a shape?
Yeah.
As far as light sweet crude goes and production goes?
Yeah.
Does it look sort of like...
It's a bumpy plateau that's slowly going down.
Okay, so we started taking oil out of the ground, and so the line goes up.
It increases fairly quickly if it's a brand new, really good oil field of light sweet crude. Like in Saudi Arabia.
When we find one...
In the 1950s in Saudi Arabia, it's like, boo, awesome. Now we're producing 5 million
right,
barrels a day.
And also the machines we make to get it out get better.
Yeah,
and so it keeps going up.
You have technological
and
improvements.
then somehow we get to 2005.
We get to 2005 because, let's just say for the record, that the amount of oil in the ground is finite and the amount of oil in any given field is finite, even if it's a big one.
Well, that tracks.
Yeah, that's tautological. So
yeah.
So when we say it peaks, it does not mean your production stops that moment. Far from it. It means you've produced about 50% of everything you're going to eventually take out of it. So production is it can when it's beginning, it can increase its production very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you have a long bumpy plateau, and then it declines at a fairly steady rate over a much longer period of time.
Like a paper airplane.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It wobbles.
Right.
But because of the physical realities of geology in the ground, you're trying to suck the same amount out of a smaller and smaller reservoir because every barrel you pull out is a barrel that doesn't get replaced.
Right, and also your straw has to get longer.
Yes, and more expensive.
Yeah.
Yes. So between 2005 2006, light sweet crude peaked
That was
in the
it?
world. That was it for light sweet crude. So
Holy
how
crap.
is it, so how is it then that overall quote oil production has gone up? Well, because, and this is a study I read by an institute in Iceland. They said, well, something had to give once light sweet crude peaked in the world. The financial system gave out in 2008. Partly because of the peak of light sweet crude, because it's getting more and more expensive to produce every consecutive barrel, which puts stresses on the world economy. And also because the United States is bleeding out its financial resources to fight overseas wars because it's not willing to increase taxes. We funded the global war on terror and the invasion of Iraq with a mortgage bubble. The mortgage bubble pops in 2008. This coincides roughly with the time when the peak in light sweet crude is happening. The Obama administration refuses to hold the banks and the mortgage companies to account, which in other words is recalibrating the system and saying, oh, wrongdoing has been done. The wrongdoers will get punished, and we'll take some of their money and use it to shore up the base of our pyramid. No, he kicked the can down the road. We're not going to stop the pyramid scheme. We're going to make the pyramid scheme go higher. This enormous bubble of debt from the mortgages and toxic assets from the 2008 financial crisis rose up out of the ashes of the financial crisis and swirled above the planet Earth looking for a new source of resources to exploit. It's debt.
It's hungry. It's hungry.
It's like there's a Dragon Ball Z episode where they just push a big ball of energy at each other, you know, the good guy versus the bad guy, and it just gets bigger and bigger until it's going to implode. That was it. A $15 trillion swirling maelstrom of debt.
Negative capital.
Negative capital, but see, negative sign goes horizontal. But if you put another line perpendicular to it, because if Obama chooses not to prosecute the bankers, the negative sign becomes a positive sign because it's not a toxic asset anymore. It's something you can pass on to somebody else. It's a positive thing.
Right, even though it has a negative sign next to it, you can buy it and sell it.
Yes.
I mean, I've got some of that's been bought and sold before.
Your mortgage or something, yeah. So that swirling maelstrom of debt circulated the planet Earth a few times, and it couldn't land in Russia, and it couldn't land in China. It couldn't land in Iran. It landed in Texas that's the Eagle Ford Formation, and it landed up in North Dakota in the Bakken Formation, and the Marcellus Shale Formation in the United States, and it landed, and it sent down its tentacles, and it funded the fracking boom. The fracking boom is not light sweet crude. Light sweet crude is still declining, and it has been since 2006. But a non-economical resource called shale oil has made up the difference.
Shored up the cracks.
Yeah. And made the world for a geologically effervescent instant.
Okay,
an oil producer again. Shale is geologically not an oil field. It is the source rock that oil fields get made from. We are eating upstream.
It's one of those things where, like, this is a negative proposition. We spend more.
Yes, we spend more money than we'll ever make out of it.
Right.
It is not net profit.
We are just grasping at this.
It's a Ponzi scheme. We are robbing the future of our civilization, Western civilization, to pay for 10 years of a fracking boom. It has employed hundreds of thousands of people. It has, and all sorts of knock-on industries, the sand and the chemicals and the maintenance and the housing and the prostitution and the liquor stores of the boom. Boom is another word.
I've heard from friends, you need a couple bucks, just go to North Dakota,
Yeah, not anymore.
Live in a dormitory for a year and a half and make a fortune.
Yeah. Well,
This was years back.
yeah. Okay, well, 150 years ago, it was buffalo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're just liquidating our assets. It's the same fucking social fantasy narrative that we're building. It's just that it was buffalo. You were just blasting them away, the buffalo men, skinning the hides, cutting out the tongues, shipping it east. Now, in the same literal geographic location, you're doing the same thing with Source Rock Underground. And it's the saloons and the prostitutes and the young men and the violence and all that shit. And like a plague of locusts, they'll go somewhere else once that's gone. And it just ended. So they didn't make any money off the shale. Fracking, what it does is it drills down into source rock, blasts it apart with chemicals and sand, and then the little bit of oil in the top few millimeters of that rock drains into the interstitial space that you just blasted apart. And for a little while, you suck that. It's
Oh, look, some more oil.
yeah, it's kind of proto-oil. It's even chemically a little bit different.
Huh.
Because, strangely enough, nature, when it makes a real oil field, like in Saudi Arabia, does a natural frack of shale beds. And then it fracks it because of geologic processes. It heats it, crushes it, smashes it.
Takes a while.
Yeah. Oh, million years. And then that oil goes, oh no, I'm a liquid trapped deep in the ground under intense pressure in solid. Where do I go? It migrates out into a space.
Right.
That space is a
I'm
regular
getting
oil
squeezed.
field. And since I've been cooked by geologic heat and time, now I'm light, sweet, crude.
Yeah.
Shale doesn't even count as light, sweet, crude. It's a bit lighter. The hydrocarbon chains are a bit shorter.
When you
Don't ask
burn
me
it,
why.
you don't even get as much.
There's a little bit
There are
less.
fewer chemical bonds.
Yes, that's why.
Holy crap.
You got it. It's not even technically light, sweet.
It's
crude.
undercooked.
There's a few less BTUs per barrel in shale chemicals.
Okay.
It makes excellent, actually, what's kind of funny about it, it makes excellent chemical feedstock. The real boom, the one that actually made money, was not the shale oil burning it for energy. It was for the chemical industry in Texas and whatnot. That was where the real thing happened. But the shale companies, the ones that had to do the work to get this worthless shit out of the ground, they accumulated in 10 years over $250 billion worth of debt. Between about the end of the financial crisis of 2008 to March 16th, 2020. So they had about 12 years. Yeah. A month and a half ago. In September of 2009, something started going screwy in the repo markets for U.S. debt, which is the back of the room market where banks lend to each other for overnight, like, oh, I made a big loan, I need to cover it to cover my ratio. It started going screwy, and the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank had to step in and back it up, which is their job. They're the lender of last resort. Don't ask me the details of the repo market. Repo means repurchase. You go to the federal government and say, I have $5 billion of a loan that I can't cover on my books from the other stuff because I need to keep...
I've loaned
Yes.
$5 billion
Yeah.
out, but I don't have it.
Yes. Yeah.
Despite all the folks loaning me money.
Right. Let's say...
All the bankers.
Yeah.
Or all the consumers even.
Yeah, let's
Who
say
are-
a pension fund makes a bet on a stock and they need to cover it or something like that. So it's big chunks of change moving around, but it's a repurchase agreement, so it's fully understood. There's nothing shady about this. It's just necessary. It's a necessary lubricant. It's like being, you know what it's like? It's like everybody's trying to get into a concert, and it's like, hey man, I'm short $10. Here's my watch. Here's my hat. There's nothing. I'll give you this and I'll pay you back tomorrow, but I really need to get into this concert. I'll miss it if I don't. And here it is. Here's my watch. You've got $50. Lend me 10 of your $50. I only need to, I have 40. Give me 10, you know?
Right.
We're all good. You're good. I'm good. And I'll
get you back.
I will repurchase my watch from you for $10. Right?
Okay.
This is fine. There's nothing wrong with this.
Right.
The reason problems started happening is guys were going, man, I made out this loan. You know, I'm going to go to the Federal Reserve. I'll do the repurchase agreement with you. Here's my watch. He doesn't come back the next day. What the fuck do I want with a watch? I want my $10.
I have a watch.
I
didn't need that guy's watch.
People were walking away from repurchasing agreements. The quid pro quo, the underlying thing that makes it all work, is the idea that it's repurchased.
You're coming back.
You're coming back tomorrow, right? You're going to find the money tomorrow.
Right.
I don't want your fucking watch.
Before the bell rings
right.
or whatever.
Right. And what happened was he kept saying, well, I have one watch. Now I have 4 watches. People are walking away. The financial system has been breaking because shale oil is not profitable, and the United States debt is starting to get unmanageable. And like water finding a crack in a vessel, it found it in the repurchase agreements. It was the final outlet of like, well, fuck, it's a game of musical chairs. The music's slowing down. I should get out. They were walking away from repurchase agreements, making the name an oxymoron.
Right. They weren't repurchasing. They weren't repurchasing.
Yeah. The Federal Reserve Bank had to inject something like $400 billion or more into it. That happened in September of last year, and it sort of continued. What happened was interest rates spiked in the repo thing, because it's like, if I'm going to buy your watch, I better make sure it covers the cost of the watch itself. So interest rates shot up to like 8%, because the guy getting stuck with all the watches is like, what the fuck is going on? I better make this onerous for them if they walk away from it.
But they can collect on that? Like, did that get collected on? You know, like,
right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm too dumb. I don't understand this. I'm still stuck in your analogy.
So
or your metaphor.
So am I. I trap myself.
Yeah.
I don't know, because if they walk away from it, why can't
you can't collect on the interest if you can't collect on the?
I don't know, because it would be. I don't know. Well, the end. Anyway, so cracks have started appearing, and this isn't just the repo market. There have been jitters in the stock market and other financial instruments since 2018. You know, it's not just the stock market. You realize there's it's a swirling ecosystem where there's things that happen on the edges that are good and or bad that make people wonder, you know. So the Russian blogger, so that happened, and it seems that overall what's going on is
go on.
Really, this is happening?
Yeah.
All right, turn out the light. It seems that what's going on is that the United States economy and its population is no longer able to serve as the anchor point for the world's financial system. And China took the coronavirus opportunity to snap. It's picking up on Mike, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, they took the opportunity to. That's even worse.
Go on.
To realign the global financial system.
How did they do that?
By shutting down Wuhan and sending a shock through the system that would ripple out and change the world economy in such a way that it would force not the destruction of the Western-led financial system, but a retrenchment, which is what's happening, because now the unthinkable of printing, as of now, about $5 trillion worth of direct debt monetization, $5 trillion worth of bailout money has been passed already. They had a $1.5 trillion bailout of stimulus money, the CARES Act and others, just by the United States. And then before that, there was a $1.5 trillion effort to stop the Wall Street slide.
Right. I remember that one.
Right. It's getting difficult to remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're openly talking about bailing out the cruise ship industry.
What?
They're openly talking about bailing out the airlines. Well, why is it called bailing out and not nationalization? That's what I mean by retrenchment. They're not trying to destroy us, China. They're trying to create a space between us where they can buy what they need because we have such extraordinary levels of debt that we have to print money to even reestablish domestic demand for products, goods, and services in the Western world. The United States government has been the backer of final descent. What's even the word? Resort. The lender of last resort. That's the word.
Consent.
Right. The lender of last resort has been the United States government since the end of World War II. And we've been hollowing ourselves out financially due to malinvestment and corruption and too much spending on military, among other things. And we're now confronted with a situation where the estimate is like, well, in the Western world, there's well over $72 trillion worth of debt between corporate debt and municipal debt and national debt. This is a number too big to serve anymore as the backing for an international currency or an international financial system.
There's been some tipping point because, to a non-financially minded person, like, debt already
feels kind of meaningless.
It already is hard to understand. But if you're a financially minded person, you realize debt is just another thing you can buy and sell, or something.
Yeah, they sell debt to each other. It doesn't make sense. You're selling me something negative.
It's just another part of capital somehow.
That's the fundamental premise of capital is anything can become a financial asset,
including a negative number.
Yeah.
But you're saying
that broke.
That negative number just got too big.
Yeah.
On the left side of zero.
For the social and governmental structures propping it up, it got too big for the things underneath it. The top of the house broke the foundation. This is not the case for China. Their government is too powerful. Their local interior economy is too big. 1.3 billion internal patriotic consumers are going to buy China first.
Is that important?
Yes. It means we can't break into their markets with our goods and services, whatever's left. The only thing we sell them anymore is pretty much chips, computer chips, Silicon Valley. That's the only leverage we have over them with Huawei and this sort of thing. Literally, like a good case in point is last year, African swine flu ravaged the Chinese pork herd badly. Like they had to kill half their pigs or more, right? This is millions of pigs who had to be euthanized in China. our pork farmers couldn't ship much pork overseas because of the trade war that our illustrious president, may he live forever, started, but also because they were like, fuck you. Now, because of Corona and reduced demand and the shutdown of meat packing plants in the Midwest, which fucked up our incredibly intricate and delicate supply lines, over 200,000 pigs are being euthanized as we speak because they have nowhere to go and they're too expensive to feed, and they are not going to China. Which would, I mean, this is the golden opportunity to ship your excess pigs to China, and it's not happening. They're being,
Because we have excess pigs.
way too many because our meat packing plants were shut down because we got way too centralized. We got way too centralized. We were, capitalism looks a lot like Stalinism if it gets integrated enough. I read one time a guy said if Stalin came back and looked at the United States in the teens, 2010 to 20, he would, and our agricultural system, he'd say, "Man, you guys are collectivized. I love it."
He would know just what he was looking at.
Yeah, and he would have loved it, But this would have been the golden opportunity to ship our...
He would have liked those pig farmers' mustaches, too. Yeah. But anyway.
So we're confronted with a situation where basically, I mean, the United States is 5% of the world's population. And demand and our local economic production just evaporated. The bubble just popped in March, a month and a half ago, because of a little flu that didn't kill all that many people, and its lethality rate is still quite low. I'm not saying it's not important to try to save lives. I'm just saying as far as pandemics go, it is not very bad. China used it as an opportunity to release the world from the Western financial system. Another crucial aspect of this that ties into the shale oil is Saudi Arabia, because demand was destroyed by Corona. Saudi Arabia saw it coming. They didn't have to go to the United States. They had to go to Russia and say, we control OPEC, but it's OPEC plus, OPEC and Russia. They tried to make an agreement with Russia to say, let's all cut production a lot. Russia declined. That day, oil futures tanked like 40%. This is in March still. Russia chose that time to twist the knife against the United States shale oil patch. Our shale oil cannot make money when oil per barrel is $70. They can't make money when it's $100 a barrel because it's so goddamn expensive to frack. It's uneconomical at any price. One frack might cost $10 million. How many barrels of oil do you have to pump to pay back even one frack of $10 million? It's a lot of oil, and it peaks too quickly. You'll never pay it back. Russia chose to twist the knife. Saudi Arabia had to reciprocate to control, to try to hold on to the market share that they had. They also cut prices. So the shale boom is over in the United States, which means our wells over the next 12 to 18 months are just going to stop producing because it's not even worth the $10 to keep the lights on and the electricity even running to this fracking rig.
Right. It's not worth cranking the...
It's not worth driving it out to inspect it to see if it's still on. So over the next 18 months, the fracking boom is going to end in the United States. Then we really won't have anything to export. You're going to have to bail out the fracking industry to do I don't know what. It's over. It's over for the Western world is no longer Western civilization. The post-World War II settlement of America backing up Western Europe, NATO, all this is now fucking meaningless. We do not control the world's financial system anymore at all. It's not, we're just now one player among many. Now it's not
as of March.
Yeah, we live to see it. It's kind of cool. Nice. The reverberations are going to keep ricocheting around through American society for the next 10 years until the trucks stop running. They're printing money. They're printing money at the top to reinflate an asset boom so that the people who control those assets legally in Wall Street, once the print enough money, it causes inflation and then hyperinflation. Now the asset is priced higher again, so they sell and get out, which causes the market to tank again. Our overlords and masters are liquidating their position to get out. They'll sell their shares in Microsoft or Chesapeake Energy, which is a fracking company,
Right.
or whoever. They'll sell their shares to a rube. That's the last step of a
Thinks they're
Ponzi
getting
scheme.
a good deal.
That's
Yeah.
Yep, that's the last step of a Ponzi scheme, and then they'll go and retire in, well, I don't know, Hubei or Hainan somewhere. Why not?
Yeah.
The position they're liquidating is you and me. The position they're liquidating is American society. What they are liquidating is Western civilization. I think.
As they
Yeah. They're getting out. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, all of them. They say, oh, poor coronavirus. We're so sorry. Do this. Do your social distancing. Stay at home. Stay at home. Don't listen to the sound of the flight of the helicopters leaving.
right.
Bye. Nice civilization you had. Don't even talk about getting like federal grants for research into the molten salt reactor or biochar or whatever. It's just gone. It's gone like the Soviet Union. You know, the Soviet Union was funding projects all over the earth. And then 1989 happened and people didn't know what was going on. And then 24 months later, there was no Soviet Union. It's just like, what the fuck? Yeah.
That's a pretty quick turnover, really.
Yeah, 24 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a baby's age. She's 24 months.
That's right. Yeah, we talk in months.
So we could get into let's do hyperinflation later if we want.
Yeah, yeah.
That's its own subject, but
Yeah, we should allied again on the next one.
Yeah, fair enough. But we turned outward and
I could hardly even
Yeah. I mean, history, you can't know what's happening until after the fact. But if you tell people, I'm not talking about shale oil. I'm not talking about other liquids that you turn into oil. The actual light, sweet crude in the ground peaked in 2000.
06.
06, you know. Sometime you have, and if you really look at the data, you could maybe get it to the month or the quarter. You know, it was like first quarter 2006. There's no debate about that. That is the International Energy Agency's, you know,
That's funny.
their assessment.
That's funny, though, because people still talk about peak oil as if it's something that is hypothetically happening in the future.
Yeah. Because
But you're telling me that was 15 years ago.
15 years ago. And the reason why nothing has made sense in the past 15 years in terms of finances, like, was there a bailout or not? Trillion is now the new billion, apparently. People were mad in 2008, and they called their...
I've been saying that for ages.
Yeah.
Trillion's the new billion. Come on.
Yeah. And you say, I'm not talking about coal being turned into diesel. I'm not talking about natural gas being turned into diesel. And I'm not talking about biofuels. And I'm certainly not talking about shale oil.
Light, crude,
sweet.
mother...
Yeah, motherfucker. It peaked in 2006, and none of the experts who know the data disagree about that. That's like saying, when was the Declaration of Independence signed?
And we don't call it sweet for no reason.
It's the good stuff.
This
no
is the
sulfur.
good stuff.
It flows out of the ground on its own. You don't have to do anything to it. You take light sweet crude and you throw it in a refinery. And that refinery produces everything you want, from butane to propane to tar and asphalt.
That's how good it is.
It's so fucking good.
I walk up to some LSC, and I just scoop it into my pockets.
Nice civilization you've got there.
Yeah.
You've been powering it on light sweet crude for about 150 years. Be a real shame if something happened. and we plugged the hole for 10 years with fracking. And what did we plug the hole with? Our entire financial system. It was a negative flow. It was negative, not positive. And you can't even explain it to people. They look at the volume of oil produced. And by oil, I mean fracking, not light sweet crude. And they say, look at all the oil we made. La, 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 la. And I'm like, look at how much it cost. You didn't make any money. The flow of capital.
You're in the red.
You're in the red. The flow of capital was negative, not positive. Oil was making money up until 2006.
But we were so intent. I mean, it's based just cooking the books.
Yes.
Because we needed to continue to be an exporter or...
Have you ever heard the phrase Saudi America? You ever heard that? That was in like Newsweek.
Saudi America, Coca?
Yeah, well,
yeah,
no.
Sorry.
But, yeah. People actually believed it, and they're sitting there going, well, there's a well, and I heard in North Dakota there's a place where they drilled a lot, and it's like, how much was it? Oh, like 10 million barrels. It's like, we use 5 billion barrels a year. What the fuck are you talking about? You know, like, as long as there's oil in the ground, some people are going to believe that you can have...
Sarah Palin told me.
Yes, it's a fucking joke and a Ponzi scheme, and people are like... It's a religious fervor they have, and they're never going to... They're going to be stuck in a white padded cell in a straitjacket going, there's oil in the ground. And it's like, your civilization is over and the suburbs are dead because they need cheap oil and it's never coming back.
Right.
This is it. This is the beginning of the collapse of the United States and the disintegration of North America. And we have 118 months left until the trucks no longer run, because there's eventually no economic incentive at all to ship oil from the last producers like Iraq and Iran and Russia. And China will have the molten salt reactor. Why the fuck would you send a tanker full of light sweet crude, the last of it, across
to North America,
across a pirate-infested Pacific Ocean?
And what are we going to give them for it anyway?
What would you get? Yeah.
Dollars?
Yeah.
Saudi petrol dollars?
Here's what's, yeah, exactly. I'll have a guess. I think within the next 12 months, what day is it? It's May 18th.
It's the 18th, yeah.
It might not make it into the open news, but here's Adam Oswald's.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe within the next 12 months, yeah, the caveat, maybe within the next 10 months, Saudi Arabia might start accepting other currency than U.S. dollars for its oil, which would mean the end of the petrodollar. So Richard Nixon, R.I.P. Richard Nixon did the petrodollar in 1971. He took us off the gold standard and put on the petrodollar instead.
And in 72, he opened China up.
Right. Because of a misunderstanding with Japan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's cool. So within maybe 12 months from now, Luke, we'll be talking about that. But if you're Saudi Arabia, you want to hedge your bets. And we just took some Patriot missiles out of Saudi Arabia. So they're looking at Russia going, okay, we either have to buy your weapons or be subjected to them. Russia could destroy Saudi Arabia in about 3 days if they wanted. That's a good point.
Should we do it?
Yeah, cut it.
Yeah, I had a question about Wuhan, but we'll save it.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, 128.